Welcome to the homestead. Our elderberries have finished blossoming. It's time to cover them so we get to reap the benefits of the harvest, not the birds and critters that reside here on the homestead. Here on the homestead, I grow Adams II, Ranch, and Pocahontas strains of elderberries. I talk a little bit about growing elderberries and propagating in another video. Today, we're talking about covering the berries. Once the berries have finished flowering and they begin the actual berry forming stage, the birds are very quick to snatch them up. If you do not cover your berries, even if you have hundreds of plants, you're likely to see blossom heads like this, just a few berry points on the end, otherwise just a very vacant set of branches. Now, when I first started covering elderberries, my big question was, when do you cover the blossom heads? Do you cover the blossom head before they actually flower? Because thrips are said to be one of the #1 pollinators of elderberries, at least where I live. And they can easily fit through the gaps at the base of these organza bags that I use to protect the berries. So if such was the case, I thought then I can go ahead and just throw the bags on before they flower. I've actually found this not to work as well. We're at another group of elderberries on my property, and I want to show you exactly when the best time to cover your elderberries is. Right there. The flowers have faded. Here's one with flowers. See all those little green berries? Now that's going to take some very careful finagling to get into a bag. If you knock those off, there go your berries. But if you can get them in the bag, get them covered, you're going to be good to go until they're ready to harvest. So initially, when I was trying to research the best time to cover your blossoms before they set fruit, I looked up and down in books across the internet about when exactly you should add your bags, and I could not find a thing. So learning that you need to wait for the blossoms to be set on these clusters for a while before you cover has been a really valuable piece of information and experience for me to gain. You don't want to do it too early or we end up with something like this. This one is a cluster. You can see these are buds. They have not opened yet. These buds have opened, but this is not in full flower, so we are not going to cover this blossom. This is one that has blossomed, and they have since fallen off. These little green nodes are where berries are forming. So the fact that all of these nodes are off shows that this has already been gotten to by birds. Here's the thing about elderberries. They're self-pollinating plants for the most part, so you don't necessarily need multiple plants, but you do increase your yield if you have more than one variety. But the other thing is, if you find that your plants are flowering, but they're not producing any berries, it's because you don't have pollinators that's spreading the pollen around within the flower. So just because they're self-pollinating doesn't mean they don't need pollinators to come visit them and spread the pollen. It's just like a tomato. If a flower isn't pollinated on a tomato plant, the tomato plant is considered self-pollinating. It has both male and female parts, but it still needs a pollinator to visit the plant in order to make fruit. The elderberry is the same way. If you're not getting fruit on your elderberries, they're flowering, but you're not seeing berries, you probably have a pollinator issue. Covering the berries is really easy. I gently just grab the cluster and squeeze it almost like into a gentle ponytail and slide the bag over the top. Be careful not to knock off your berries, but then once they're on, I just pull the string to tighten. Here's an overhead view of one of my elderberries. I'm up on a porch, and you can see how big the full cluster could be. You would need a much bigger bag than what I'm using. However, I prefer to cluster the smaller subsections, if you will. And so I break these down into individual bags. You could also save time and get large, massive bags that would cover this whole branch.